Welcome back to Wargaming World, to Zululand 1879, and to another game of 1 hour Wargames. And so, this is what will be scenario 14 in the 1 hour Wargames rulebook. The only thing that isn't in the rulebook is actually a colonial action, so there isn't a rule set there for the Zulu War. So, thanks to everybody who's been participating as part of the 1 hour Wargames fan group. I've had this discussion for a couple of weeks, and we've put together a rule set which combines the rifle and sabre rules to that of the Dark Ages. Now, I'm not going to go into the detail of the rules here. I'll add it with the description, and everybody who's a member of the Facebook group will have access to that as well. So for everybody who's watching, our suggestion is to click on the link to join the group, and then you'll get that detail as well, which should be helpful, as well as joining this group, the YouTube group, and subscribe, and to follow what we do with all of the various different games of 1 hour Wargames and other rule sets. So what are we looking at in this game? So we've got 6 units, and the British forces are split into 3 units into 2 different positions. So the first is to hold this lagered area, and the second is to hold this hill. Now, I'm just taking a quick look at the units themselves. So the British infantry going to be made up of 4 men. So we've got 2 units here, and we also have 1 artillery. On the other side here we have 2 more units, 2 more infantry I should say. Then at the back there we've got cavalry, but whilst they're behind the protected area they'll be on foot, so we'll count as standard infantry. Finally, I've just added these characters into the mix just to add into the game, but they won't be active players. And so here's how the British are deployed. You'll see top of the hill, and then the same on the other side there with the unit and the artillery. Opposing the British on this side are 3 Zulu units, all of 8 figures each. That's to face British there. On the other side we've got 3 more units, again 8 men in each. So this is the starting point on the right hand side. Now, one last consideration before we start is that the aim of the game is that the Zulus must take either the defended position, or on the left hand side they need to take the hill. Now, I've split these forces out equally on each side for the attack, but what's going to happen from turn 3 is that we're also going to roll 1d6. It's going to indicate how many extra Zulu units can arrive, and in addition from which side. So it could be from any side. It means where that tree is at the back is where they will appear. If we're going to say on the right hand side, it could be anywhere at top end there, or here, or on the left hand side it will be somewhere in the middle before those hills. They will appear in 1 unit per turn. Again, if we roll just a 1 on turn 3, there'll only be 1 of them who's going to appear, but we'll see how many add, and therefore which target will be the most likely for the forces. Right, with that set up, let's start the game. Alright, so turn 1, I've just made a board edge here. You can see this river and waterfall there, just to make that board edge here. So we've got the Zulus attacking, so this is where we've got the start of turn 1 on the left hand side, approaching this hill. On the opposite end, the Zulus are advancing on the right hand side. Now, I just want to mention that the British artillery can fire on the Zulus here. It's going to be a while before the Zulus can reach them. We've got a whole wooded area here in the centre, and it is tempting to move the Zulus into there to try and get some kind of cover. However, I think to be true to form, in the first instance we're going to have the Zulus advance, and also they might get reinforced here on the left hand side. So in the second turn we'll do that, but the next thing to do is that it turns to the British in turn 1, and it'll be the first firing, which is the artillery, to fire at the Zulu unit which is furthest to the right. And it's 1d6 casualties, and that's just the 1. The British are just out of range here, just beyond 12 inches, so it's the end of the first turn. So, turn 2, and a Zulu advance, and over here Zulus are getting close, so there's going to be rifle firing. There's 2 units that can fire and reach the Zulus. The cavalry at the back there, just out of range, so I'll roll for 2 first, but I'll start with the artillery. Artillery firing again at the same target. 6. That's a 5, so that unit is now up to 6. Over here, and we have 2 units firing, so we're going to fire at the one on the right hand side and the one in the middle. It's 1d6 plus 2 unit. That is 3, so it's 5. 2, so that's 4. Right, so we're now at turn 3. So before we do anything, we're going to have to roll and see how many reinforcements the Zulus get, and when the first of them appears, or where the first appears. So let's roll for that. So it's 1d6 for the game. Just the 1. Where do they appear? So we're going to say number 1, it's where the forces originally came from. 2 left hand side, 3 right hand side, 4 is going to be the opposite end, and it's 4, so it's the opposite end. And so this is where the extra unit appear. So the action, I think, is going to be over here. So let's see about the Zulu movement. Okay, so on the left hand side the Zulus are approaching the British here on the hill. On the right hand side they've crashed into the defensive area, so we've got 2 units fighting against each other. The third on the left hand side hasn't made contact, so it might be a target for the cavalry, although they've got 2 units. They'll have to fight or fire at either of them, but we need to work out the conflict between the 2 units that are now fighting against each other. Now in the Zulu turn we only roll for the Zulus. We've got them as warband, so we add 2 to this dice. However, we then half the casualties because of the unit in cover. On the right hand side then, we've got a 6 plus 2 is 8, so rounded, so it's 4 casualties. And then on the left it's a 5, add 2 is 7, and we round up, so that's also 4. Now we'll do the fighting as well in a moment, but we'll start with the firing. And we've just got the cavalry who can fire, so they make a choice of who they fire at, and I think they're going to fire at the nearest unit. So they are in range, so it's going to be 1d6 plus 2. And that's 7 in total. There's more firing. We've got the artillery, and both of these units can also fire as well with rifles. So we'll start with the artillery firing at the same target. 6. That takes it up to 10. Infantry next to them will fire again. Same target, and that's a 4 plus 2 for the infantry takes a 16, which means that unit is then removed. So we've then got these 2 units, so I'm going to fire at the one on the left hand side. Again, plus 2, so that's 8. So I'm going to do the melee in a moment, but on this left hand side we can see that the Zulus are really struggling, so I think it's unlikely we're going to get anything over here. So for a Zulu victory it needs to be on the right hand side. So there's fighting taking place with the 2 units. This time it's the British to fight. So we'll start with the on the right hand side. We've already got 5 I think on this unit. So with this one, it's not a warband, it's just infantry, so it's 1d6. That's a 3, so that unit's up to 8. Unit in the middle, that is 2, so that unit's up to 6. It's the end of turn 3. It seems a struggle for the Zulus. We'll see what happens in turn 4. Now on this side I've moved one unit into contact, fighting against the cavalry, and the other Zulu unit has moved and advanced. It's not quite in contact, but if it hits next time round, which I suspect it will do, it'll be in the flank, so it's not all over here for the Zulus. Now I've moved the Zulus away here. I think they're just going to, I don't think they're going to get up the hill at all, so I need to withdraw them and take them towards some kind of cover area, and then ideally if one of the British units is moved from the hill to support on the right hand side, they can counter-attack, but at the moment we're going to have no joy on the left hand side. Okay, so let's focus on the fighting here. Remember, it's 1d6 plus 2 and then halved. On the right hand side we got another 6 plus 2, obviously 8, so it's a 4. British unit up to 8. Second roll is a 2, plus 2 is a 4, so 2. Unit in the centre is up to 6. The cavalry again is 2, so it's 2 for that unit, and it's the first casualties they've taken, so just a 2. So over to the British this turn, so I'm going to move one of the units and move that down, and that's going to be the only British movement this turn. And then there's going to be some firing with the infantry and the artillery. Actually, it's only going to be the artillery because the infantry is out of range, so I'm going to fire at this unit again, so it's a d6. It's a 5. That unit's up to 13. So we've got fighting over here. We'll start with the unit on the furthest right. On 8, up to 9, on a 6, up to 12. Left, that unit's on a 7, and we add 2 to it to a 9. Alright, so we're over to turn 5. The Zulus are going to continue to withdraw and towards this safer area of woods, and that's where they get to. Now, the only other unit to move is the Zulu unit at the back. Now it can move into the flank of the cavalry, which is already fighting. Now, I've got a feeling that there is a rule that says you can only do one or have one action at a time, but if it is the case, I'm going to ignore it, because obviously the advantage to the Zulus is being able to fight on both sides there. So I'm going to say that fighting can take place, and the advantages of fighting on the flanks. So I need to work out some casualties here. We're going to start off with the British again on the right hand side. Plus 2, then halved, so it's a 5, plus 2 takes us to 7, so it's going to be 4 again. It is now up to 12. 6, so it's another 4. So that unit I think is up to 10. Finally the unit fighting against the cavalry. Another 6, cracky. So it's going to be another 4, so I think that unit's up to 6. Unit is up to 6, and I'm now going to say the Zulus are attacking in the flank. So we roll the same thing, so we add 2, then half, but then double it because it's fighting in the flank. So let's see what that calculates as. So we've got 5 plus 2 is 7. We round up, so it's a 4, and then we double it. Although I think sensibly here is that if we took 7, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 7, I suppose. It might be a bit convenient to do that, but if we said it was 7, rounding up was 4, which would take us up to 8, I guess if we work it simply and so it's going to be 7 rather than 8, I'm going to say that's still significant. So the casualties then are 13 in total. I think I made the situation overcomplicated trying to calculate that, but the one thing I do know is that the cavalry are going to be knocked out next time, I think, and therefore I think over here we might have a pretty dramatic conclusion of the battle. We're over to British movement, and the only one we can do is this unit is moved here. So we move to the shooting, and I've only got one shooting, which is the artillery, which is going to fire at this unit, and if it gets anything other than a 1, it's removed. And it is removed. Now we've got some fairly desperate fighting over here. So on the right hand side that unit's on a 9, so let's roll. If you get a 6, the unit is removed. It's only a 1, so that goes up to 10. This unit in the middle, I should say, is on a 12, so 3 or more, and it's removed. It is a 3, so that unit is removed. And this unit's on a 9, so a 6, and that unit is removed. It's a 4, it goes up to 13. That's the end of the turn, and the Zulu's certainly withdrawing on the left-hand side here. The British aren't going to be able to catch up and make an effect on the game over here, I don't think. Anyway, I think everything's going to be concluded over here. So, it's the end of this turn, new turn, and the Zulu movement to start. So this Zulu unit has moved over here, can't be fired at, it's under suitable cover and can't be seen by the British artillery. Now this unit here, this cavalry, is being attacked from 2 sides. Going to be a minimum of 1 for both, so it's on 13, so I'm going to just remove it. And fighting this British unit here, we've got that unit's on 12. It's been taking 4 casualties all the time, so if it takes it again it'll be removed. 2 and halved. We've got 5, and so 5 we round up, so it's plus 3. So actually with 3 it is removed because it's 15. Now the final British unit, there is a sequence to this game, so we do movement, it didn't move, it didn't shoot because all the other units were already in combat, and then in the fighting we've removed 2 British units, so that unit actually hasn't done anything. And I can either say that it simply doesn't do anything and then it'll be attacked in the next round, or I can say that it can act. And I know it's out of sequence, but I'm going to say it can because I think it's unrealistic otherwise. I'm not going to say it's going to stand back and fire, but I'm going to say that it can fight in melee with that unit there. So I'm going to say that that unit would have moved into this one and will fight now. And it's fighting means that Zulu unit is removed. At the end of the turn, I think we're going to get a Zulu victory because I've got a fresh Zulu unit moving. Over here, we're going to have 2 Zulu units moving into the single British unit. And again, I'm going to allow attacking in the flank to be 1 calculation. So they're going to take this area here on the right, and then I think they're going to be able to hold it sufficiently from 1 British unit which is advancing. So I'm going to do this turn, but I think it is going to be a Zulu victory. Right, I've moved these Zulus further along, and they're moving quicker than the British can. Now I'm going to say, despite the terrible casualties, the Zulus have been able to get into the camp and attack, and they're going to attack this unit here. I don't think, because the Zulus are, I think the Zulus are in the camp now, and therefore they don't get the defence already. And I know that this unit has taken 10 casualties already. It's a warband, so the warband is a minimum impact of 3, because there's 2 units in there. It's going to be curtains for the British. So in that action, it's going to be a Zulu victory as the British are removed. And there we go, a Zulu victory. Right, so there we have it, a Zulu victory. I think it's worked. I think that's been a good game. I think the Zulus have been unfortunate on the left-hand side in terms of the casualties, and the British unfortunate on the right-hand side, with the Zulus rolling 6s all of the time. This could have been very different in terms of Zulu casualties on the right. However, by being able to get in contact and rolling some good numbers, it's a Zulu victory. So, I hope you've enjoyed watching the game. Thanks very much for watching, and indeed everybody who has been putting into the discussion about which rules we use and how we add the Zulus and colonial games into the 1 Hour Wargames. It's been a really good discussion, and thanks everybody who has who's joined in for what is a really growing group. So thanks once again, and I'll look forward to your thoughts about how this game has gone, and look forward to having a conversation, and we'll see you soon.